Welcome to week 2 of Rhizo14. Week 1 was, I'd say, surpassed my expectations. Fantastic. So much great interaction. So much great responsibility from people, inclusion, willingness to go out and invite people in, connect with new people, make real critical engagement with people's arguments. I love the fact that people are disagreeing with each other. I love the fact that they're doing it in a polite way, that we've got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different streams of discussion going on. People taking this at totally different levels and depth, and that's fantastic. And that's what we're looking for. Because every time we come across somebody else who isn't looking at things the way that we do, even if we don't agree with them, even if, like in some cases, people are saying, well, you're not answering the question in the right way, each of those engagements brings us one step deeper into being able to use the language as a community, right? And to becoming a part of something that allows us to use our ideas in a different way. And I think that's fantastic. So, week 2. As people are starting to notice, I'm a little fond of provocative commentary. This week, we're talking about enforcing independence. And it's a purposeful piece. I'll tell you what. 4 weeks ago, I started panicking about this course. I started worrying about it, about how it's going to be structured and how I could hopefully try to encourage people to participate, encourage that responsibility, and give people a sense that they owned the work that they were doing. But frankly, I wasn't worried about week 1. Week 1's not a problem. There was no expectation of independence and choice in week 1. People came into what they thought of as a MOOC or an open course or wherever you came from, and there was an assignment and people took it up. Now, once you give people freedom, it's very hard to take it back. And there's an interesting comment in the discussions on week 2 where somebody said, hey, when you guys changed this title, when did you have that conversation? I feel kind of left out that I wasn't part of it. The simple fact is that I didn't include anybody in that discussion. I did that myself. Because I still think that the word course has meaning. I think community is better. But I don't think communities come out of nowhere. And I think of a course as an onboarding exercise, as a way of getting people together, as a way of trying to run a certain theme. And I still think that there's room for that course to be directed. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's the role I'm trying to take. It's not so much conductor in the sense that there's a set sheet of music that I'm trying to get everybody to sing, but rather, I don't know, playground activity monitor. I'm trying to use my instincts to direct people as a group towards a certain kind of conversation, and because I think that that'll be helpful. So I'm taking that responsibility on myself. Now you may say, you shouldn't be doing that, Dave, and I'd be willing to hear that, but this is where the crux of this week comes in. I also use this in regular classrooms, right? This is an open course, it's a beautiful activity. To me, this is the way the web should be, but the vast majority of our educational experiences that a lot of us have been part of are part of a more formal structure. So I teach ED366. You can go see it at ed366.com. And I'm going to teach it again in 2 months. And every time I come to it, I fight this same battle. How do I enforce independence? How do I tell people that they must be responsible? If rhizomatic learning is to make any sense at all, people need to be independent, they need to be responsible to their own work, and most importantly, they need to be able to self-assess and self-remediate. So they need to be able to say, I don't know how to do this, I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what this is, I'm going to go find out what it is, so that they can participate in a community. You cannot have any kind of freedom unless you're independent enough to do those kinds of things. And we have crushed that out of our education system. And part of what I'm trying to do, particularly with my students, they're 45, 50-year-old, lifelong teachers. And they are, in a lot of cases, they're fantastic people. They are such great professionals. But they have this idea that education works like this. Unless I talk to them about how they learn to drive a car or how they learn how to cook, and then it goes phew, over here. And what I'm trying to get are these practical things, and I'm trying to get them to look at formal learning in that way. But to do that, I need to make them independent. And what I'd like people to do this week, the challenge this week, is how do we, as educational leader typey persons, so whether or not you're the formal teacher or you've been hired as a development officer, and a lot of us fulfill those roles. I mean, a lot of us are parents, so I'm trying to do the same thing with my kids, right? I'm trying to enforce this level of independence. And I think there's a primary paradox there. And the challenge this week is to demonstrate enforced independence. Rather on your side, in your own environment, how can we use this idea of enforcing independence to our own advantage to help make people more responsible to their learning and therefore more successful?